Hello, friends. So before you is the Bestech Sambac, or Sambac. I don't really know how to say it. This was given to me by my lovely wife as a birthday present a few weeks ago, and I was pretty excited to get it. This is actually something that I had told her that I wanted, among a few other things, and so she kind of surprised me with it. And I've actually been really impressed by this, very happy with it. So I wanted to share this with, well, whoever's willing to listen or watch. So what this is, Bestech made 3.6 or so. I measured it earlier. It's a little bit more than 3.5 inches, but I don't recall exactly. Magna Cut blade, and I do believe that Bestech is doing these at a good hardness of 63 or 64 Rockwell. There's a lot of cool little features on this that I want to point out. So, looking at the handle first, this is one of several versions, by the way. So I have the one with the gold handle and I think this is called the dark matter carbon fiber inlay. They also have a couple other versions, one with a blue handle and I think just a plain carbon fiber. And I think there's one that's a gray handle, and I don't actually remember what carbon fiber that one has, but this one is actually my favorite out of the bunch, so I'm glad I got this. The inlay's done very nicely. Really no issues with the fit and finish there. It looks almost like something made by Riat in terms of how well the inlay is done. Pretty unique looking cool pivot it's actually polished, and it's got this kind of floral pattern machined in, and actually a little ball bearing inset, which is not something that I've seen before. You see that the back spacer also has a few little bearings inset. Excuse, there's a little bit of dust there. Machined pocket clip, which works just perfectly. The cutout for the lock bar is actually lines up with that inlay, which kind of hides it. So that aesthetically, that's very nice. In terms of visual features, I guess that's it. And the blade, as you can see, is like kind of a slightly upswept, slightly recurved shape with a very nicely done stonewash finish. And as you can see here, I have put one of my edges on this. And I have to say, this is actually the first time I've ever sharpened Magna Cut. And wow, this probably has to be the sharpest edge that I have ever achieved with sharpening. Like really, really scary sharp. So I don't know if Magna Cut always comes out that way or if that's just the way that this has been heat treated. But like this thing was popping hairs off without even touching the skin. I was just kind of going like that. Just kind of like brushing the hairs with this, and they were just popping off. I wasn't even feeling it. There, no tug on the skin, anything. So wow, this came out very sharp. And the only thing kind of bothers me, I'm not the best at sharpening recurves, and you can see that I did get kind of a little bit of a wonky shape in here. I think the stone was kind of getting caught on this edge and digging in over here when I was doing it, but I mean, I kind of know why with the technique I use in sharpening that happened, but yeah, a little bit disappointing. It didn't come out like really perfect, but anyway. And I have to say, like that the way that this carbon fiber matches with the anodizing on the handle is really nice. But I'm kind of getting off on a tangent. So yeah, Bestech. This is not the first thing I've had from Bestech. In fact, I have a few other models from them. I have this guy here. This is the, oh geez, I forget the names of these. The Cetus, the Bestech Cetus. So this one is actually a crossbar lock with the aluminum foil carbon fiber handle scales. This one actually is a 4-inch blade, very big, with this compound grind, very aggressive looking. Really nice blade, and really excellent fit and finish on this. Probably the nicest crossbar lock that I have handled. I also have the RR, I think this is called the Station, which is manufactured by Bestech and also like really, really well done. Absolutely flawless. I think if you had told me this was made by Riat, I would have not known any better. The only flaw in this is that it looks to me like the ATR here that's printed on the spine of the blade is actually slightly off center, which is really the only defect I found on any of the Bestech produced blades that I've had so far. And I also have this, which is the Trisect. This is actually a Serge Pachenko design. So this is sold, I think, directly through his website, but he had these made by Bestech. Also really cool. Also just absolutely flawless in terms of fit and finish. So another good example of the kind of work that Bestech is doing. Really happy with this. This was also a gift from my wife, actually, that I had several months ago. So Bestech has been kind of continuously impressing me with the quality of their stuff for the past year or so. So I just wanted to kind of show this against some of the other Bestechs that I have. And I have to say that, yes, this is just as well done as any of those are. Great action. It's very smooth. The detent is done just right. Out of the box, actually, the pivot was just ever so slightly over-tightened. Not to the point where it was interfering with anything, but I loosened it up just a little bit to the point where the action got a little bit better, drops shut a little bit easier, but still no blade play, still absolutely rock solid. So very impressive. Ergonomics are actually also really good, much better in hand than I thought it would be. The index finger just kind of falls right into place here, and it feels very secure in hand. And the blade shape is actually very functional, very useful. The slight recurve does help with kind of trapping and traveling through material. Like if you have a piece of rope or some thread or something, you can kind of get it trapped in there and then pull out that way. And the tip is nice and pointy, so it's easy for opening packages and things like that. So really happy with this thing overall, both in terms of how it looks and how it functions. I think this one is a winner. So like I said, good action, good detent, perfect centering, no blade play. Everything is really just spot on with this. I really like the size of it as well. Like I said, the blade's a little bit over 3.5 inches. It's probably something like 3 5/8, which for me is a really nice size. I typically, prefer stuff that's in the size range between 3 1/4 and 3 3/4. But like for me, the sweet spot's really between like 3.3 and 3.6. So this is kind of on the upper end of that, but it doesn't really feel, even though it does have like this nice full-size blade on it, it doesn't feel like an oversized knife. It carries really nicely because it's not too wide in the pocket. It fits in there relatively slim. I mean, it's not very thin in this dimension, but that's not typically something that bothers me. In fact, I kind of like that when it's a little bit wider because then it kind of fills the hand better when gripping. Yeah, and like I said earlier, so it is Magna Cut, which is something you're seeing more and more of now, and you're also, I think, starting to see, for those of you who do follow, the industry, you'll know that, some people complain about makers not hardening Magna Cut the way it should be, that the hardness should be somewhere between 63 and 65 Rockwell on the C scale, obviously. Some makers were running it lower to 60, which again, most people might not notice the difference at all. But me personally, I do prefer things to be run a little bit higher. I don't typically have the concern of toughness with the way that I use my blades. I do prefer edge retention. But, like I said, I don't think that most people would really notice a difference. And I think I get why manufacturers do this. They're trying to play it safe. If they take the hardness a little too high to the point where the blades become brittle, I think it looks worse for them, if people start to complain on social media that their brand new blade, has chips in the edge, or that the tip is snapped off. I think that looks kind of worse for them than it does to have people complaining that the hardness isn't as high as they'd like. Yeah, so they play it safe a little bit, I'm sure. And you can probably make the same accusation for a lot of different brands doing that. But what do we know? I'm sure most of the makers do test them to make sure that they perform well, functionally anyway. So that being said, so for those of you who are not really all that familiar with, the hobby or all the steels, Magna Cut, this blade steel, is typically considered to be one of the best steels out there. It's a relatively new steel, which performs extremely well in terms of toughness and corrosion resistance, but also fairly well in terms of edge retention. It's not the best in terms of edge retention, but considering how high the toughness and corrosion resistance are, the edge retention is actually very impressive. Typically, when you gain performance in one of those three areas, you lose performance in the other two. So to have a steel which performs well in all three areas, that is something special. And I think that this has kind of made some other types of steel obsolete, actually, which is why some stuff like S35, S45, which was, considered to be like top tier a few years ago, is now kind of relegated to mid tier, because you no longer have to give up your edge retention or your corrosion resistance to have a stainless steel with good toughness. Me personally, I still think that steels like S90V, which are really, you get really, really excellent edge retention, but still have pretty respectable toughness and corrosion resistance, and steels like Vanax, which are basically completely corrosion resistant while still having a similar level of edge retention to this. Those are still my favorites, but I have to say, with the way that the Magna Cut took such an impressive edge, I have to say it might become a new favorite, just for that reason, because I do like to sharpen it, and I do like to get just really wicked sharp edges on my blades. Now, that being said, so this guy actually does have a Vanax blade. I did sharpen it. It did not come out as sharp as the Magna Cut did. I have not yet really tested the edge retention on this, but Vanax, I think, still kind of seems a little bit more exotic to me, which I think makes it more interesting. But no one should ever complain about Magna Cut in terms of it not being the absolute best thing. It's really, I know people who go out and buy something just because it has a Magna Cut blade. Right. Went off on a tangent there about the steel, but yeah, this one feels pretty unique. I don't know. This is the first thing I've had that has ball bearings inset in the pivot or into the spacer. I don't know if it's the first thing ever to do that. Probably not. Actually, no. I think I have seen. Oh, Riat did some models that actually had like ball bearings inset into, I think, the handle or something, kind of decoratively. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, this one's really cool. I really recommend it. If you're in the market if you want to check out the Bestech brand, or if you're looking for something that's just like really cool, really well done I think this is somewhere in the $250 or $300 price range. I wouldn't hesitate on this one. It's well done. It's a good functional design. It's also kind of a cool collector's design because of the embellishments, I think, in the design, and nothing lacking in terms of quality either. check this one out. All right, that's all I have to say there. Until next time.